This is a 2010 G37 X sedan. What's up, guys? Today we're going to talk about real quick basically how reliable this car has been up to the 171,000 mile mark. I know a lot of people look into before we get into that, we're doing a little project today. We've got our 350Z that we usually build for the channel. We're in the process of changing over some parts because we're going to keep this car. Ignore the damage, that'll be fixed. But this was the old HKS demo car. You can see these nice, massive 330 mil front brakes from Brembo. Freaking awesome. So what's up? What's up? So, this is a 2010 G37 X sedan. Basically, this car has been owned by my girlfriend for 11 years. I'll get more into like a full ownership review later on, but what I really want to go over in this video more specifically is how reliable the engine, the transmission, the suspension, and stuff like that have been. So to get started, we're looking at 171,000 miles on it. Major issues, I would say to start with, I started driving this car at around 95 to 97,000 miles, and that was 7 years ago when my girlfriend and I met. When she had the car, the only noticeable issues were that the paint was kind of messed up because she had kind of been dinged in a little hit and run in Philly, and there was a CD that got stuck in the CD player right here, basically in the center console. Those are really the major issues. Otherwise, the driver's seat was torn. I have a little leather tape there. I'm gonna eventually redo it. But that was kind of like the big thing. And so 7 years ago, that would have been like 2016. So that means she would have had the car for 4 years. She bought it with about 40,000 miles on it. And she had driven about somewhere around 55 to 57,000 miles by that point. So we just drove it as normal for the first couple years we were dating. And then eventually, ignore the helicopter, I decided I wanted to kind of work on it and modify it because that's what we do. That's why we even have the channel. We had agreed that we would get the car repainted because it was just kind of little dings and scratches everywhere, not necessarily to the fault of the paint. Like if the paint was properly maintained and it was garage parked, it would have been fine, but it just wasn't at the time. So we got the car repainted in 2019, May 2019. So the paint job is about 4.5 years old. I had it repainted Malbec black. So it's kind of got a little bit of a purple flake when it's really sunny. And then I went ahead and threw some lowering springs on it, some ground effects, front lip side splitters, rear spats, rear spoiler, got some wheels and tires, and then just a few other odds and ends. So the car's basically been modified since 2019. These wheels are a little bit newer, but just to give you a breakdown of reliability, now we're just gonna talk straight about how reliable the car's been. We're looking at around 105,000 miles, the mass airflow sensor in the motor. So here's the motor. As far as motor modifications are concerned, it's nothing crazy. Basically, we're looking at HKS drop-in air filters, and then eventually I'm gonna get some like Z1 smooth intake runners, or maybe some 3-inch intakes, I'm not sure. I have a Z1 radiator cap that I'm gonna toss on as well. Although I don't know if that's actually gonna necessarily do anything because it's kind of it is what it is. At 105,000 miles, had to replace the mass airflow sensor because we're having an idle issue. The car would shut off after starting. So we replaced one of the mass airflow sensors with an OEM Nissan one, a Hitachi, I believe. We had the car repainted and modified at around 130,000 miles. And really up until that point, it was just oil changes, fluid changes, coolant flushes, and that's what Infiniti talks about. Fluids are the only thing that you really need to change on this car. And for the most part, I'd agree. I've done front and rear differentials because obviously this is all-wheel drive. So I did rear diff at 130,000 miles. It was pretty dirty. I don't think that it had been done before, but it was totally fine. I did front diff a little bit after that. Otherwise it was fine. The only major reliability issue that we had was that the heater union in the back, near the back of the intake manifold, broke. It's this little plastic piece that connects two of the radiator hoses in the back there, and it basically just, it gets brittle and breaks over time. So a lot of companies like Z1 or even Nissan make this like union with a bleeder in the back now. So it's something that you should do. I would recommend is like preventive maintenance. Otherwise, we did do spark plugs and clean the throttle bodies at about 160,000, 155, I think it was 155,000 miles. Something to keep in mind that right after we did the spark plugs, the coil packs went, and that was really frustrating because we were already there. So I developed a random misfire within 500 miles of doing the spark plugs, and it was probably because the contacts were just poor, because the coil packs are recommended to be replaced every 5 years or 100,000 miles, whichever comes first. And those coil packs were replaced this year, so they were like 12 years old and I had like 155,000 miles on them. So all things considered, they were totally fine. When we did look in the spark plug tubes, there was a little bit of oil seeping, I believe in cylinder 2 and 3. Nothing crazy. We are going to do the spark plug tube seals at some point soon, probably within the next 10,000 miles. But it's not terrible. It's not like the spark plug is soaked. Otherwise, the only other issue that I had was I believe it's the P0106 code for a random misfire. There's a mass airflow sensor that's like right under here somewhere, right on top of the intake manifold. Or manifold absolute pressure sensor, not a mass airflow sensor. Manifold absolute pressure sensor that's going to be like right here under the engine cover. And that sensor basically, it just gets dirty and it throws a code. You actually don't need to replace that sensor. You can just clean it with some brake cleaner and throw it back on, and it should clear the code on its own. So just to kind of give you guys a quick run through of like the major issues that this car has had, we're looking at the CD player jammed up, the seat tore, the mass airflow sensor needed to be replaced at 105,000 miles, which is a pretty common issue. The heater union failed, so that had to be replaced with a metal piece. The manifold absolute pressure sensor needed to be cleaned, not replaced. And the spark plugs and coil packs were basically like a maintenance item, and I would not have had a random misfire had I done the coil packs at the same time. I was just trying to save $650 on coil packs and stretch it, but I ended up having to spend more money on labor just because I had to have the car towed and all this stuff. So the question that people ask all the time, I'm getting hit by gnats now, but the question that people ask all the time is, how reliable is G37? I'm looking at picking it up. How many miles do you have on yours? Do you guys have any issues, etc., etc.? The common answer, and I find this funny because you compare it to like the Q50, Q60, not the 3.7 liter Q50, but the 3.0T, the VG30. All those guys are on their second and third motor sometimes, like not all of them, but like a lot of them are on their second and third motor by the time they get to 100,000 miles, not to mention the turbos are going out. But with the VQ37 HR, this thing, I've got to say, is probably one of the best motors that Nissan's ever built. It's incredible. Makes a lot of power, 330 horsepower, like 297 foot-pounds of torque. And really, if you literally just keep your car clean, take care of it, and do your recommended maintenance by oil changes, fluid changes, coolant, make sure you hit that heater union. From there, you're looking at a car that I've seen on the Facebook group. Like, there will be guys who will be like, hey, how many miles do you have? Post a picture. And all these guys will come in with their G37 sedans. And, you know, obviously the coupe, it applies as well. But they'll all come in and be like, oh, 200,000 miles, still pulls like the day I got it. 250,000 miles, still just pulled on a scat pack. 300,000 miles some guys will have. I've seen guys go up to 350,000 miles on their VQ37 HRs. So is this car reliable? Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I would definitely recommend, if you guys are looking at something, picking up like a sedan like this, 100%, this is definitely the car that you're gonna wanna get. So I think that's gonna sum it up in terms of reliability for a G37. This does apply to the coupe as well, as far as I'm concerned, because it's all basically the same thing. The sedan really just has 2 extra doors. But let me know how many miles you guys have on your G37. I'd be curious to know. I'm at 171,000 and this thing still pulls really hard, still runs really right. Oh, I guess I should add really quickly. I'm starting to get a little bit of an axle click. So as far as brakes are concerned, we just did the regular maintenance on the brakes too. So the brakes, no problem. But I am starting to get a little bit of what seems to be axle noise. And that is a result of lowering the car. That's a whole nother video topic. But if you guys are planning on lowering your X sedan, look into axles as far as research, like if you might need spacers or a different type of axle, something like that. Whole nother topic. Regardless, these things are bulletproof. I'm happy. I just so happen to have, in my opinion, one of the cars that blends speed, performance, luxury, and reliability all in one package. It's really, honestly awesome. I'd recommend it if you're considering getting one. If you're looking at this versus a Q50 and you really want the body style of the Q50, look at the 3.7 liter Q50, because those are going to be the same motor and transmission, and that's going to be much better in my opinion than the 3.0 twin turbo, because those things are crazy as far as like what I've seen in reliability. I was looking into a Q60 to pick up with my girlfriend, and then we did all the research and we were like, wow, actually I don't think we can do this, because this is crazy how unreliable they are. But that's a different topic. Anyways, let me know what you guys thought of the video in the comments down below. Let me know if you have a G37 sedan or are thinking about getting one. If you have one, how many miles do you have? How reliable has it been? Let me know in the comments below as well. And if you liked the video, please make sure to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell. I'll see you in the next one. I appreciate you guys.